This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Welcome back, everybody. Just saying this word will make you tense up. And the word is tension. It's not a very fun word. Right away, you already have a preconceived notion and or picture in your mind when the word tension comes up. We are holding tension in our bodies from many different situations, traumas from the past, present, all of that. And that is in some ways wreaking havoc with our physical health and also our mental health, causing pain, loss of function. There is, as I've learned from our next guest, a simple, effective, tested strategy to release that tension and completely change your life, as it did for the inventor of what we're going to talk about today, and also for our guest who practices and helps people with this. He gives people hope. And we're talking about the Alexander method, and we are talking about Travis Chastain, who's back on the program with us. How are you doing today?
Steve, it's great to see you again, my friend. It's a great day over here. How's things over there?
Thanks for asking. I'm probably the same.
You're
You're
in the
in,
studio right now, right?
well, okay. So, air conditioning is blaring. Not that we even need it,
I
but
know, right? I
the
know.
windows in this place don't open. So, I would just love that. But uh, it's like 76 and sunny in New York, Colorado Springs. What are you working on?
I think we're probably about 67, 70
Okay.
degrees. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not too bad. Yeah.
right
Yeah,
around the
although
same.
it's enough for me to get hot, you know. So,
So, we're going to talk today a little bit deeper about the Alexander technique, but also how it can support, I'm guessing, other situation or other modalities. Tell us about that.
yeah, well, the thing that makes the Alexander technique beautiful and how it's helped me so much and how it's helped so many people so much is also the thing that makes it so unique. Everything else is conditional upon its effectiveness. And what I mean by that is, in order for meditation to be effective, there needs to be certain conditions around the room that you're in, the space that you're in. In order for exercise to be effective, you have to have the condition of exercise equipment, a space to do it, time to do
Mm.
it. Since
Yeah.
the Alexander technique is primarily a system of thinking, in order to gradually reorganize and organize your body and your coordination for the better. I can practice the Alexander technique, Steve, when I'm sitting in line or standing in line waiting for my cup of coffee at Starbucks.
Wow.
I'm practicing the Alexander technique right now as we're having a nice conversation.
I was thinking you were going to say that. Uh,
Yeah.
and I don't even know how that's even possible.
Well, it's because it's simple. I mean, it really is a simple process. There's a stimuli for action. We're bombarded continuously and constantly by stimuli. This is not a good thing or a bad thing. All action, all habits really depend on a stimuli to motivate them. But what the Alexander technique does in its process is it allows us to use stimuli in this moment and in that moment for our betterment, right? Stimuli ordination, depending on how we're thinking about it, or it's going to diminish our use, our coordination, depending on how we're thinking in this moment and at the moment. And it all comes down to what F.M. Alexander described as this term end gaining, goal fixation. If we're focused on fixated on a goal, whether it's me playing the classical guitar well and playing a phrase well, or me focusing on, gee, I hope this interview goes well, whatever it is, whatever the things that we do. If I get fixated on that, then I'm also going to bring in those habits of tension, those holding patterns.
Mm.
It's inevitable, right? And the technique, what it does is it gives permission for us to listen to that, right? To listen not only to the tensions in our bodies, but the way we're thinking that's driving those unhealthy tensions. There's a difference between tension and unhealthy tension. And what we're talking about right here is unhealthy tension. And so when I'm standing in line for my cup of coffee and the line is going excessively slow and I'm in a hurry, I have an opportunity to use that stimuli to improve my head, neck, and back relationship, improve my coordination. And because it's not conditional, the only condition that's required to practice the Alexander technique, Steve, is that I'm alive and breathing. If I'm alive, conscious, and breathing, I can practice the Alexander technique. I can practice it while I'm sitting, relaxing, watching a television show, right? And also because of that, one thing that was interesting, and the science shows this actually. We have a wonderful study on the Alexander technique on chronic back pain. But one of the interesting things it has on there is how it complements things like physical therapy, for example. Because you can use the principles of the Alexander technique, which is boiled down to this word: stop before you act, pause, and think about what you want from your body before you do it. Don't try to feel it out. Don't try to be right. Think lightly. You'll get light out of your body. It really is that simple. I know it's hard to believe, but it is that simple. And we have plenty of tested tests to prove it. Objective tests, not just subjective. But coming back to this test, because the Alexander technique isn't conditional upon anything to be practiced, I can practice it when I'm doing my physical therapy exercises to strengthen my back. When I was going through my process, then rehabilitation alone wasn't helping me. But after I had the Alexander technique, rehabilitation did help me. Why? Because it helped me get in tune with a different way of thinking that was going to help me not bring in those habits attention into this wonderful exercise that my physical therapist gave me. All right. So when I'm lifting my arm up here, why the heck do I have to be tightening my neck and pulling my head back and down when I lift my arm up here? Why do I have to do that? The Alexander technique teaches me not to do that. All right. The Alexander technique teaches me what not to bring into the equation, Steve. When I'm standing waiting for my cup of coffee or doing my exercise or doing my weightlifting, going for a run, playing my classical guitar, doesn't matter, you know? Here's something that I don't have to do. So why do it?
It seems to me, Travis, that you really need to be mindful. Many of us are just on autopilot and
Yeah,
what's a habit? I mean, it's something that reoccurs. So
right.
the habit of tension, you could be driving and many of us, tense up a little bit. There's going to be that neck discomfort and we just think, well, that's the way it's supposed to be. You're in rush hour traffic. Now you're trying to get to work and there's an accident ahead and that's going to bring back a habit of tension. But is it really short of the technique? Is it really about awareness?
Absolutely. In fact, I like that you use that word. That's one of the principles of the Alexander technique. We have three main principles: awareness, inhibition, and direction. Okay, so awareness is, like you said, it's just that listening. You can't change something if you don't know it exists, right? Right. If you can't stop end gaining if you're not becoming present to the fact that you're end gaining. You can't let go of a habit of tension if you're not noticing the slight, subtle movements of that tension. And that's another beautiful thing. With the neck injury that I have, it's not going to take a whole ton to get me into bad trouble, Steve, right? But what the technique has done is it's sharpened my senses so much that I notice the little slip so that I don't have to experience the big fall. Right? I notice a little tightening. I can do something about that right here in this moment so that I don't have to feel the big bang hurt from that old injury that, has still has scar tissue on it for me. Right. So Dan, that's a long way of answering your question, Steve. Alexander technique hasn't made me not long-winded yet.
Well, I want to go back
But yeah,
to
it's awareness.
you said before that even as we're together that you're practicing it. Now I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
can we explain that? Because I'm trying to figure out
Yeah.
how you would be.
Sure. Well, you notice I'm taking a little bit of a pause before I responded to you there. Right. So what that pause is doing is there's the stimuli for action, which wants to trigger, let's say, a choice, a one habit, an old habitual habit of tension that I used to carry, and that I could carry anytime I want to because I have a memory. Right. But right now I'm just taking a little bit of a break for myself to be with how my body is. I'm just noticing my neck while I'm having a conversation with you right now, my friend. I'm not trying to do anything with my neck. I'm just noticing that I have one. Right? And I'm recognizing that I can leave that thing alone called my neck. And I notice you took a bigger breath there, my friend.
Can I tell you?
Yeah.
Can I tell you
Good.
why?
Tell me why.
Because since you said it, I'm aware of my neck, and I'm
Yeah.
aware of where the tension is and where there is some discomfort.
Yeah. And see, just by
Period.
listening to it, you're shining a light on it, right? And so long as you don't push against it, so long as you don't try, you just, oh, how is that thing? Can I invite some ease? Where am I easy already? Where am I easy already while I'm having this lovely conversation with you, my friend, right? And it triggers just a slight movement in the right direction for you, right? It's not going to change everything automatically, but it gets the ball rolling in the right direction. And you can see
Hmm.
how it goes, right? You can see how the conversation goes. I can see how that, bumping myself up is going to go. When I'm doing my weightlifting, I can notice, oh, did I bring anything much too much into that action that didn't need to be there, that could long term cause me some trouble if I keep doing that, right? So that's what I mean, my friend, right? I'm doing my best while I'm having this conversation just to be present, right? That in order to have this conversation with you, it's my body that has to speak. So might as well do my best just to give some invitations to be easy there. And as it turns out, the mind can drive us into too much tension. Why is it so ridiculous to think that the mind can allow us to reset into the right amount of tension? Why is that such a absurd thing? It sounds perfectly logical to me. And it's been tested so many times that its soundness is practically universally not needing to be questioned anymore.
So let's say, well, even before we go there, do you feel that we have tension all over?
Hmm.
And as I just did, and you identify when I took that deep breath, that you don't even know you have it
You don't even
uh,
know.
until there's awareness. And I got it. It's like right up the back of my neck. I woke up like 3 weeks ago with just tightness on one
Yeah.
side,
Oh
went
yeah.
to a chiropractor. Yeah,
Yeah.
made it a little bit better. It's still, I don't have full mobility. Like I can feel tightness turning one way, turning the other way. I don't even know how to get rid of it, to be honest with you, because chiropractic
What,
cared any more.
Steve, we're here together, my friend. Why don't we work on it for a couple minutes right now?
I wasn't
You
even
just
suggesting it, but if you want to,
I mean, why not? I mean, why not? It might be fun for the audience too, right? Just to see the practicality of it, right?
sure, sure.
So, it all comes down to these principles, my friend: awareness, inhibition, and direction, right? And awareness is simply just the listening. The first thing to remember is that tension is being driven by end gaining most times. Trauma too, of course. But in either case, it doesn't really matter. Just bring some awareness to maybe let's going well within you first. Let's start there. So notice what's going well in your body first. Hey, let me notice that I have a neck and it's actually way in between my ears and behind the bridge of my nose here, that very top vertebra. Let's just bring that awareness for a second. And don't try to do anything with it. Just think it. Just invite that. Even think a little less hard about it. Just a little thank you.
Mm.
Even less hard, my friend. Just a little wish. Yeah. And
It's
now
like,
just notice the width of your shoulders for a second. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, my friend. I'm sorry. but just notice the width of your shoulders. Don't try to do anything other than acknowledge that you do in fact have a width of your shoulders. It's from point A to point B, and there it is. And you notice that little shift in your body just by noticing that width?
I'm trying
Can I?
not to be intentional. I'm just trying to just lean back and, take it all in.
Well, I'll tell you what I noticed. You shifted slightly to your right. So you shifted a little slightly out of your left slump. I have the same thing. I tend to pull down in my left floating rib, and that can cause some trouble in my shoulder. So I do the same thing,
Hmm.
right? So, but the interesting thing is sometimes you don't even have to notice it's happening. All you have to do is think in a particular way. So here's another question you can ask. Okay, that shoulder's been hurting me. Okay, shoulder, well, that's okay. Ask this question. What am I doing in my whole body? What am I doing in my whole body that's causing this local discomfort? And don't try to answer that question. Just ask it like you're asking a friend you haven't seen in forever that you just want to know how they're doing. Ask it, and now just think, my neck is free.
Now, when you say
Yeah.
ask it, do you mean ask it just in your mind and as if you're addressing
Yeah.
wherever the pain may be?
Yeah. So there's two things that we notice there, right? We notice that you're having a local problem,
Hmm.
but we're also addressing one of the principles of the Alexander technique, unity of the self. That we might have a local challenge, but it's caused by a global misuse, right? And so a lot of the times we get stuck on our pain in a particular area thinking, well, that's the only thing that needs to be resolved. I can't tell you how many times, Steve, when I'm having something like, I told you a week ago I fell down the stairs. Not fun, not good. Everything was hurting, right? But I was particularly hurting in my injured neck, which I had before, as I told you, and my shoulder, right? So those old troubles came back. But I've been with the Alexander technique long enough to know that I need to just think of myself globally and ask that exact same question that I asked you, and then just wait on it. Let it move in its own time, right? And I can't tell you how many times something will release in my left hamstring, for example, and then my shoulder will release, for example,
Mm,
right? Or something will release in my neck, and that promotes a change in my sacrum, for example, and then I'm feeling a widening in my pelvis, for example. I'm just giving you some practical examples of this concept, unity of the self, right? And that it's folly to think of a compartmentalization. You're not compartmentalized, right? By definition, in order for you to function, your postural network is one that's adaptable, but it's also one that must be communicative from head to toe in order for it to function appropriately, right? So we always have to think of the whole first, primarily, and then secondarily, the parts that ail us. Does that make sense?
crystal clear. And I suspect this, but I want to confirm this. When we
Yeah.
have discomfort,
Mhm.
more times than not, is it connected to something else? Like example, pain in my neck that leads to the shoulder. All right, like we say, it's localized pain. I get that. High probability it's connected to something else. It's not just, well, I have a little pain right there. No, it's probably connected to the other side of my shoulder, my back, whatever it might be. But more times than not, that's what's going on within our bodies.
It's always that.
Figure that. Mm,
It's always that, Steve. Right, and I'll give you another example. Like, when I was struggling with my challenge of getting back to the classical guitar, I had learned a lot of tension habits from the specific coordination of playing the instrument.
sure.
And then as we talked about in the past, I had my general miscoordination uses that I had learned from just learning how to sit improperly at being bored out of my mind at school, right? And it really doesn't take much more than that, to be honest with you. And what I learned how to do is twist and pull into my left side. It's any classical guitarist who might be listening, they're going to be laughing at this because that tends to be what we do. We look at our left hand, we start to misuse ourselves in the act of looking at our left hand, right? So I was in these habits in my left side, But that was putting a lot of pressure on my right shoulder because it was moving and disaligning the rib cage in an inappropriate way, which is pulling out support from my shoulder girdle via the armpit. And now I wasn't having that support from my right arm that I needed. Combine that with the trauma from the car wreck.
Mm.
And that poor C6 and C7 vertebra, I mean, it was just, every time I did anything, I was abusing that poor thing. I didn't know I was doing that. I wasn't doing that intentionally, obviously. It's not, you don't need to do things intentionally in order to do things poorly, right? But I was doing that. But, hopefully that answers from my personal experience,
Mm.
how complicated things can be. And that's another thing that's wonderful about the technique is it abstracts the immense complexity of the human organism into a simple set of thinking strategies that help use that immense complexity of the human organism to help reorganize itself. The truth is your body does have a fundamental primary memory of how it functions optimally. It's highly embedded in the instinct of the human being. The only thing that we have to learn how to do to bring that about is to stop interfering with it. And the technique is fundamentally about the approach, the practice of learning how to stop interfering with that which knows how to do itself very well. Hence the reason you can learn how to stop interfering while you're waiting for your cappuccino at Starbucks or wherever your local coffee shop may be,
So what
right?
I'm detecting here is the core is a perfectly functioning body. It's all good. Everything's great.
Yeah.
What happens on that core life? Things kind of call it a scab. Go, gets on in its way essentially from, a trauma here, maybe an injury here, and all of that. And with the Alexander technique, it sounds like we're peeling away all of that to get back to the fully functioning core, your body.
Love it. Yeah, you're peeling away the onions of the unnecessary,
Mm.
peeling away the layers of the unnecessary, my friend, right? And learning how to do just what's enough. And that's where the graceful movement is, right? Which is your birthright. It's my birthright. It's everybody's.
We're not here to be miserable. I have to believe,
No, well,
that's not what we're here to lead productive, fun, joyful lives. And the more we're talking here, I'm tracing steps in my mind. I got back into jogging about 3 weeks or so ago, and after doing that, I felt like a little pain, maybe hamstring pain. I think I should have probably stretched and et cetera, et cetera. But now I'm thinking back, it's around the same time that I woke up with the pain in the neck. And now it's the right leg, call it the right hamstring area. And this is the left side of my neck. I'm wondering timing wise if there's uh,
sure.
a connection and off balance or something like that.
There's no doubt. Yeah, I mean, I could show you
Hmm.
fascial meridians that show those clear lines if you wanted, but we don't
Okay,
need to
so
bore the
hold
audience.
we're out of time, but I got to ask this
Yeah.
question. I have to ask
Uh,
this question. Fascial meridians. So are you saying
yeah.
that their fascia could connect from your neck all the way down to your?
Oh, it does. It doesn't. There's no could about it. It does.
All right, I see this all in a totally different light now with that statement.
Hence the unity of the self principle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had fascia massage. I've had, on and on and on. I had no idea. I thought that was local. Let's say you have some built up, fascia issues from some surgery on your neck or whatever it might be. I know not even a thought that that is connected. That tissue could be connected to your leg. My gosh.
Our pain might be global, but our misuse is, or our pain might be local, but our misuse is global.
My gosh. That says it all with this technique. Best
Does
way
it?
to find you, Travis. I know that you can do things virtually. You're in Colorado Springs, but available anywhere.
Ah,
How do we
yes,
connect?
sir. You can find me at my website and get your trial session at www.bodymindbalanceco.com. I'll teach you to be in line with your cup of coffee and be awesome while you're doing it.
Thank you for today. Every time we get together, it's like more of this is coming clearer, and how this
Yeah.
technique, which has been around for about 100 years ish,
150 years.
150, is so
Yeah.
effective. All right.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. We'll catch up soon. Okay.
All right, Steve. Have a great day.
Thanks, Travis.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.